I never expected to catch my own mother stealing from me on my wedding day. Yet there I stand in the corner of the Grand Horizon ballroom, watching Celeste and Sierra hunched over a stack of cream-colored envelopes. My champagne glass freezes halfway to my lips as Sierra's fingers deftly sort through cash and checks, tallying amounts in a small notebook while my mother nods approvingly. The room tilts slightly beneath my satin heels. This is supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Across the room, Elliot chats with his college roommates, his face relaxed and happy, unaware that my family is dismantling our future right under our noses. The champagne slips from my fingers. The glass shatters against the marble floor, sending crystal shards and bubbly liquid spraying across my ivory shoes. Several heads turn, but I barely register the stares. My mother and sister look up, startled, guilty expressions flashing across their faces before Celeste arranges her features into concerned, motherly worry. "Laurel, honey, are you all right?" she calls, sliding the envelopes behind her sequined clutch as if I hadn't already seen them. I cross the room, each step deliberate despite my shaking knees. "What are you doing with our gift envelopes?" Sierra shifts her weight, making herself smaller behind our mother, the same posture she's adopted since childhood whenever she's about to get away with something. "We're just organizing them for you, dear." Celeste pats the stack. "So many of our friends handed them to us instead of putting them in the card box." My pulse thunders in my ears. Last week at our rehearsal dinner, Celeste had made pointed comments about the wastefulness of even our modest $9,000 wedding while praising Sierra for her framed childhood photo gift, a lazy collage that took her all of 20 minutes to pose and assemble. The same dinner where my mother questioned our venue choice for the 5th time, wondering aloud if we really needed such an extravagant space. "I'd like the envelopes now, please." I extend my hand, surprised to find it steady. Celeste waves dismissively. "We'll keep them safe until tomorrow. You've got enough to worry about tonight." That money was given to me and Elliot. My voice doesn't waver. "Well." Celeste exchanges a glance with Sierra, who suddenly finds the carpet fascinating. "Your sister's in a difficult situation right now. That apartment of hers is just draining her, and with her 3rd career change coming up. You're keeping our wedding money?" The words taste bitter on my tongue. Celeste sighs dramatically. "Don't be selfish, dear. Sierra really needs this right now. It's only 60, 250. You and Elliot both have good jobs. $6,250. The exact amount we needed to finish paying off Elliot's student loans before starting to save for a house. They've counted it already. They've planned this. That's theft, I say, the word hanging between us like a blade." Sierra peeks around our mother's shoulder, eyes wide and watery, the same performance she's given since we were children. "Lori, please. You've always had everything so easy. My roommate just moved out, and I can't cover rent alone." "Easy?" The word nearly chokes me. "You think my life has been easy?" "Now, girls," Celeste's voice sharpens. "Laurel, we're your family. We're just holding this money because Sierra needs help getting back on her feet. It's what families do, they help each other." Sierra nods vigorously behind her, but I catch the small, smug twitch at the corner of her mouth. I stare at them both, suddenly seeing with perfect clarity the pattern that's defined my entire life. Sierra needs, I provide. Sierra falters, I step aside. Sierra wants, I surrender. The fluorescent lights catch on my new wedding ring as I flex my fingers, steadying myself. For the first time, I realize what's truly at stake here, not just the money but the final shred of belief that my family might ever see me as worthy of the same consideration they've always given Sierra. My hand stops trembling as I extend it again, palm up. The envelopes. Now. I say it loud and clear. When Celeste opens her mouth to argue, I cut her off. I said now. I clutch the envelopes in my hand, knuckles white against cream cardstock. Across the ballroom, my father stands with Elliot's uncle, nursing a glass of whiskey. The moment my eyes find him, Grayson's gaze skitters away like a cockroach caught in sudden light. His shoulders hunch forward slightly, the same posture he adopts when Celeste bullies him into uncomfortable situations. My heart thunders against my ribs. The steady rhythm of the string quartet fades to white noise as understanding crashes through me with brutal clarity. Not just my mother and sister. All 3 of them. They plotted this together. Even on my wedding day, I was never going to be the priority. "Laurel?" Elliot's cousin touches my elbow. "Is everything okay?" I manage a tight smile. "Family matter. Would you excuse me?" The hotel manager, a balding man with kind eyes, offers his office when he notices my trembling hands and the collection of envelopes I'm guarding. I follow him down a carpeted hallway past curious guests who pretend not to stare. Inside the office, Celeste sits comfortably in a leather chair, as though she's been invited to tea rather than caught stealing. Sierra perches daintily beside her, dabbing at dry eyes with a cocktail napkin. I remain standing, the envelopes clutched against my chest. Celeste pats the empty chair next to her. "Sit down, honey. You're making this into something it isn't." The patronizing gesture, as though I'm still 7 years old, makes my jaw clench. Before I can respond, the door opens behind me. Grayson slips in, positioning himself naturally at Celeste's side. The three of them form a united front, just as they have my entire life. We've been managing Sierra's apartment payments for nearly 4 years now, Grayson explains, not quite meeting my eyes. Her landlord raised the rent again last month. This would be her 3rd career change, Celeste adds, smoothing non-existent wrinkles from her sequin dress. The job market isn't what it used to be. Sierra sniffles dramatically. "I just need a little help with my credit card. It's only $3,000. $3,000? I repeat, my voice hollow. But you're taking $6,250 from us. The rest is for her new apartment deposit, Celeste explains, as if discussing the weather. The one she has now has terrible mold issues. The money they're stealing represents 8 months of careful saving. 8 months Elliot and I would need to add to our timeline for paying off his student loans. 8 more months before we could start saving for a house down payment, but the money isn't what makes my stomach twist into knots. It's the realization that they sat around their kitchen table, calculating exactly how much they could take from me on my wedding day. While I addressed invitations and chose flowers, they were planning this theft. Did you even consider what this money means to us? The question comes out quieter than I intended. Oh, please. Celeste waves dismissively. You and Elliot both have stable jobs. Sierra doesn't have anyone to help her but us. Us, I repeat. You mean me. Family helps family, Grayson says, the words practiced and hollow. I want to remind him about the medical bill I faced alone after slipping on a wet floor at work 3 years ago. $4,200 that I paid while working through painful physical therapy sessions. When I asked for help, Celeste had sighed and explained they were stretched thin helping Sierra through culinary school, her second abandoned career path. The door opens again, and Elliot appears in the doorway. His face remains calm, but his eyes scan the room with alert precision, taking in the tableau of my family arranged against me. When his gaze lands on the envelopes in my hands, understanding flickers across his features. My father shifts uncomfortably, adjusting his tie with a finger. For the first time, I wonder if I should expose every instance of their favoritism from my childhood right there at my wedding, or if responding with quiet dignity would be the more powerful statement. Would revealing decades of pain change anything, or would it just give them another opportunity to dismiss me as too sensitive? Elliot steps fully into the room, closing the door behind him. The soft click feels like permission to finally speak my truth. The envelopes stay with us, I say, my voice finding its strength. Every single one. Laurel, be reasonable. My father starts, but falls silent when Elliot moves to stand beside me. The simple act, Elliot choosing his place next to me, rather than trying to mediate, speaks volumes. For once, someone in this room sees me as the priority, not an afterthought, not a resource to be drained for Sierra's benefit. Just me, worthy of defense, worthy of standing my ground. Sierra's face crumples into practiced tears, a performance I've watched since childhood whenever she didn't get her way. But for the first time, I don't feel the familiar pull to surrender, to smooth things over, to sacrifice my needs for family harmony. We're not discussing this further. I say, resting my hand on the envelopes. These gifts were given to Elliot and me to start our life together. Celeste opens her mouth to argue, but something in my expression stops her. Perhaps she finally sees what I've only just discovered myself, that her power over me has limits, and we've just reached them. And I will show them what I am capable of. Sierra's sniffling grows louder, like a faucet slowly being turned to full blast. She dabs at her eyes with a lace handkerchief, the same one our grandmother gave me before she passed. Wedding guests walking by the hotel manager's office slow their pace, necks craning to peek through the partially open door. Is everything okay in there? Aunt Patricia appears in the doorway, her concern painted across her face as her gaze darts between my tearful sister and me. Celeste springs into action with practiced precision. "Oh, Patricia, just a little family matter. Laurel is upset with us for trying to help Sierra." Her voice drops to a stage whisper. You know how she gets when she feels like she's not the center of attention. My jaw tightens as Aunt Patricia gives me a look that borders on disapproval. The familiar weight of being cast as the villain settles across my shoulders. I'm not upset about helping Sierra. I say, my voice steady despite the fury bubbling beneath the surface. I'm upset about them stealing $6,000 from my wedding gifts. Aunt Patricia's eyebrows shoot toward her hairline. Before she can respond, Elliot appears behind her, and she steps aside, allowing him to enter. The memory of last spring's accident flashes through my mind, slipping on freshly waxed floors at work. The sickening crack of my wrist against marble, not unlike the sound of my champagne glass shattering moments ago. Then came the bills, $4,200 for surgery and physical therapy. I'd called my parents, voice small despite my 32 years, asking if they could help with even a portion. We just put down a deposit on Sierra's apartment, my father had explained over speakerphone. Bad timing, sweetheart. I learned later they'd fronted Sierra's entire security deposit plus first and last month's rent, $7,800 total, for an apartment she'd abandoned 4 months later for a better opportunity in a different neighborhood. I'd worked through the pain, typing reports one-handed for clients while attending physical therapy sessions I scheduled during lunch breaks to avoid missing work hours. For 6 months, I'd eaten ramen noodles and canned soup to pay down that medical debt. No help offered, none expected anymore. That's when I started my journal, a record of every financial inequity, every dismissal, every time my needs were deemed less important than Sierra's wants. Not out of pettiness, but as armor against the moments when I'd question my own memory, my own worth. Elliot's hand finds my shoulder, his touch grounding me amid the chaos of the moment. "Remember what we discussed?" He whispers close to my ear. "We prepared for this." His steady presence reminds me I'm no longer facing my family's manipulation alone. My father steps closer, his wedding suit jacket unbuttoned, hands spread wide in that placating gesture I've seen 1,000 times. "Laurel, after all we've done for you." "Name one thing," I interrupt, the words bursting forth before I can stop them. "Name one thing you've done that you didn't do twice as much for Sierra." Silence falls across the room like a heavy curtain. My father's mouth opens, then closes. My mother's fingers fidget with her pearl necklace. Sierra stares at the floor. No one speaks. No one can answer. In that silence, understanding washes over me. I've been keeping score not out of pettiness or jealousy, but as protection against their constant gaslighting, their insistence that I was imagining the imbalance that defined our family. Elliot steps forward, his movements calm and deliberate. He reaches into his suit jacket and pulls out a slim folder I recognize from our wedding preparation meetings. "Mr. and Mrs. Whitman." He begins, his voice respectful but firm. "Laurel and I anticipated there might be some confusion regarding the wedding gifts." My mother scoffs, but Elliot continues undeterred. "We have documentation here, prepared by our attorney, regarding the legal ownership of gifts presented to us on our wedding day." He opens the folder, revealing neat stacks of papers. This includes a notarized statement confirming that all monetary gifts, regardless of who initially receives them, are legally the property of the married couple. I watch as my family's expressions shift. My father's face darkens with understanding. Sierra's eyes widen with dawning comprehension. But it's my mother's reaction that tells me everything. Her face drains of color as she realizes we came prepared for her scheme. For the first time in any family confrontation, I feel my spine straighten, my shoulders square. The hand that trembled earlier now rests steady at my side. My voice when I speak carries a certainty I've never felt before. "You taught me a valuable lesson growing up," I say, looking directly at my mother. "I learned to prepare for disappointment. The difference is, this time I prepared with evidence instead of just hope." Elliot slides the legal document across the table toward my father, who picks it up with reluctant fingers. "You have 30 minutes to return the envelopes," I say, "or we involve hotel security and potentially the police." My mother's mouth forms a perfect O of shock, as she realizes this isn't a negotiation, it's an ultimatum from the daughter who finally found her voice. But this is not the end. They will realize it soon. The hotel office falls silent. My father's shoulders slump as he reads. Celeste snatches the paper from him, her eyes widening with each line. "You planned for this?" The disbelief in her voice would be comical if it weren't so tragic. You expected us to take what doesn't belong to you? Elliot finishes, maintaining unwavering eye contact with my father. We hoped it wouldn't be necessary, but yes, we protected ourselves. The room feels smaller now, the air heavy with unspoken accusations. My father's gaze drops to his hands, the fight visibly draining from him as legal reality sets in. This is ridiculous! Sierra erupts, her composure fracturing. Laurel already has everything. A husband with a good job, a career she actually sticks with, financial stability. She doesn't even need this money. The outburst hangs in the air, raw and revealing. Not about need at all, but jealousy. Mr. Patterson, the hotel manager who's been quietly observing from the corner, clears his throat. Perhaps I can offer a solution. As this appears to be a delicate family matter, I'd be happy to secure the gift envelopes in our hotel safe until tomorrow morning. Sierra's face flushes crimson. You don't understand. I have bills. That aren't Laurel's responsibility, Mr. Patterson finishes firmly. Our policy is clear regarding wedding gifts. They belong to the couple. My mother's lips press into a thin line as her scheme unravels in front of strangers. The public nature of their exposure clearly wasn't part of her plan. Laurel. My father's voice sounds tired. Can we handle this as a family? Without all this legal business? The question catches me off guard. For a heartbeat, I hesitate. Should I give them one last chance to make amends? Or was it time to finally break free from the pattern that had defined my entire life? Before I can answer, the office door opens. Monica appears, her bridesmaid dress slightly wrinkled from dancing, concern evident on her face. Everything okay in here? She asks, her eyes finding mine. Elliot mentioned you might need some support. The timing couldn't be more perfect. Elliot had sent for backup, anticipating my family's resistance. The realization warms me he truly understood what I was up against. We're just sorting out a misunderstanding about the wedding gifts. My father says quickly, his tone conciliatory where minutes ago it had been demanding. Monica's eyebrows arch. A misunderstanding? About whose gifts they are? Something like that, I reply, finding strength in her presence. Mr. Patterson steps forward. As I was explaining to the family, our hotel policy is quite clear. Wedding gifts are the legal property of the newlyweds. He gestures toward the envelopes. I'll have these secured in our safe until morning, unless you'd prefer to take them now. The safe would be perfect. Thank you, Elliot answers. Celeste's fingers twitch against her sequined clutch. My father begins backpedaling, his excuses flowing freely. We were only trying to help organize things, he offers weakly. A misunderstanding about family support. The wedding coordinator pokes her head into the increasingly crowded office, her professional smile faltering as she senses the tension. Is everything all right? Some guests were wondering about the cake cutting scheduled for 15 minutes from now. My mother seizes this final opportunity, rising to her feet with practiced dignity. Laurel? She says, her voice dropping to that familiar, threatening whisper. If you do this, if you choose this path, you need to consider what it means for your place in this family. The implied threat would have crushed me even a day ago. Now, with Elliot beside me, Monica at the door, and strangers witnessing my family's true colors, it lands hollow. Mr. Patterson collects the envelopes, each one a gift freely given to celebrate our marriage, not to bail out my sister's latest financial crisis. Grayson shifts uncomfortably. Perhaps we've all been too hasty. Let's discuss this tomorrow after everyone's had some rest. But the damage is done. In their desperate grab for resources they believe I don't deserve, they've revealed exactly who they are, and who they've always been. Celeste grabs my wrist with manicured fingers, her nails pressing into my skin. The same grip she's used since I was a child to silence me during church services, to steer me away from toy store aisles, to control my movements at family gatherings. Her eyes water on command, a skill I've watched her perfect over decades. Laurel, she whispers, voice trembling with practiced vulnerability. If you do this, you're choosing him over your own family. Her eyes dart to Grayson, seeking backup. My father clears his throat, squares his shoulders beneath his rented tuxedo. The same posture he adopts when he's about to deliver disappointing news. Think about what you're doing, sweetheart, he says. Blood is thicker than water. Sierra hovers behind them, eyes wide and damp, bottom lip quivering. The performance she's given since we shared a bedroom with matching canopy beds, hers pristine, mine with crayon marks she'd made, then blamed on me. No one will understand why you're treating us this way. Celeste continues, squeezing my wrist tighter. After everything we've sacrificed for you. The hotel manager shifts uncomfortably near the door. Monica stands beside Elliot, both silent witnesses to my family's final manipulation attempt. The weight of 32 years of acquiescence presses against my chest, that familiar tightness threatening to silence me once more. But something has changed. The pressure of Elliot's wedding band against my finger reminds me I'm no longer alone. The gold band catches the light, a circle with no beginning and no end, unlike the conditional love I've known my entire life. I look down at my mother's hand on my wrist. Her knuckles are white with effort, the diamond tennis bracelet Sierra gave her for Christmas glinting against her skin. With my free hand, I gently lift her fingers from my wrist. I have documented every instance of favoritism towards Sierra since I was 14. I say, voice steady. Every Christmas where she received 3 times the value of gifts, every dance recital you attended for her while missing my debate championships, every car payment you made for her while I took the bus to 3 jobs. Celeste's mouth opens, but I continue before she can interrupt. The $4,200 medical bill I paid myself after breaking my ankle at work. The college textbooks I bought while Sierra's were delivered to our house with gift wrap. The rent deposits you covered for her while telling me to figure it out when my first apartment's pipes burst. My father's face drains of color. You kept track? All this time? I had to, I reply. Otherwise I'd question whether I was imagining things when you told me I was being selfish for expecting equal treatment. Sierra steps forward. This is ridiculous. You've always been jealous of me. No, Sierra. I've always been invisible beside you. I turn back to my mother, who has recovered enough to attempt her signature dismissive laugh. I'm not choosing Elliot over family. I tell her. I'm choosing myself for the first time. The significance of these words lands in the silent room. The manager clears his throat. Mrs. Whitman, I'll escort you and your husband back to the reception. The gifts will remain secure in our safe until tomorrow morning. My mother's face hardens. We're not finished discussing this. Yes, I say. We are. Elliot places his hand at the small of my back as we walk through the hotel corridor. With each step, my spine straightens. The ballroom doors open, and wedding guests turn toward us, glasses of champagne in hand, oblivious to the seismic shift that just occurred. I squeeze Elliot's hand. We've discussed what would happen if my family attempted this. Now it's time to follow through. The band notices our return and smoothly transitions to our chosen song. Elliot guides me to the center of the room, where our DJ stands ready with a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, the DJ announces, the bride would like to say a few words. I take the microphone, scanning the room until I find my parents and sister slinking in through a side door. Sierra immediately turns toward the exit, but a cluster of elderly great-aunts blocks her path. Thank you all for coming today. I begin. My voice carries across the silent room. Elliot and I are overwhelmed by your generosity and support. Every card, every gift, every moment you've shared with us today reminds us what true family looks like. My gaze moves deliberately to Elliot's parents, who beam from their table near the dance floor. I especially want to thank Jim and Barbara Crane. I continue, for showing me what supportive parents look like, for treating me like a daughter from the moment we met, for demonstrating that love doesn't come with conditions or comparisons. A murmur ripples through the crowd. From the corner of my eye, I see my mother stiffen, her social mask slipping. She whispers something urgent to my father, who nods and begins gathering their things. To everyone who contributed to our future together, my voice catches, but I push through. Your generosity will help us start our married life on solid ground. We promise to honor your gifts by building something beautiful together. Applause erupts as I hand back the microphone. Elliot pulls me close, his lips brushing my ear. You did it, he whispers. I'm so proud of you. Across the room, my parents make their way toward the exit, Sierra trailing behind them like a shadow. Several guests turn to watch them leave, whispering behind their hands. The rumors will spread through our family before morning how Laurel finally stood up to Celeste, how the golden child Sierra wasn't so golden after all, how the quiet daughter found her voice on her wedding day. My mother pauses at the door, looking back at me one last time. I meet her gaze without flinching. For a moment, Something like respect flickers across her face before she turns and disappears into the night. I don't know if I'll ever speak to them again. The thought brings neither sadness nor relief, only a strange, weightless freedom I've never felt before. The music swells around us. Elliot leads me into our first dance as husband and wife. 6 months feels like a lifetime. The afternoon sun streams through the windows of our new apartment as I arrange fresh lilies in a crystal vase, a housewarming gift from Monica. Elliot works at the dining table, spreadsheets open on his laptop, his forehead creased in concentration. If we maintain our current savings rate, he says, glancing up at me with a smile that still makes my heart skip, we'll have enough for a down payment by next summer. I walk over and kiss the top of his head, ahead of schedule. This simple moment discussing finances without anxiety knotting my stomach still surprises me. Every decision we make together feels like building something sturdy, something real. The phone rings, and I answer without hesitation. No more flinching, no more assuming it's Celeste with another demand disguised as family obligation. Later that evening, Elliot takes me to Riverwood Bistro for our 6-month anniversary. The candles flicker between us as we toast to half a year of marriage. My phone vibrates against the table. Sierra's name appears on the screen alongside her message. Need $800 for car repair. Can you help? It's an emergency. 6 months ago, panic would have flooded my system, the familiar guilt, the rehearsed excuses, the inevitable surrender. Now, I simply type, number. I set the phone down and take a sip of wine. No explanation, no apology, no justification. Everything okay? Elliot asks, his eyes concerned but not intrusive. Yes, I say, and mean it. Everything is perfect. The weekend brings a small gathering at our apartment, Monica arriving with homemade apple pie, Elliot's parents bringing a vintage bottle of Cabernet and warm hugs that envelop me completely. Diane and Robert Crane treat me with a natural affection that still catches me off guard. To Laurel and Elliot, Robert raises his glass, his voice steady and sincere. And to building the family you choose. The words settle over me like a quilt, warm, comforting, true. I lean against Elliot, watching Monica laugh at something Diane says, the evening light turning everything golden. This is what family should feel like. This is what I deserve. Sunday morning, I hang our favorite wedding photograph on the living room wall, Elliot and me dancing, foreheads touching, surrounded by friends. No forced smiles beside Celeste. No awkward tension next to Grayson. No Sierra hovering jealously at the edges. In our bathroom, a pregnancy test box sits in the cabinet beneath the sink, waiting for the right moment. On the coffee table, brochures for family therapy peek out from beneath a magazine, not to reconcile with my blood relatives, but to ensure I don't carry those patterns forward. I kneel beside a cardboard box labeled Past, and place my childhood journal inside the one where I documented years of favoritism, small cruelties, and financial inequities. My fingers linger on its worn cover before I close the box. As I sealed away the evidence of my family's treatment, I wondered if some relationships are better honored in memory rather than in present reality. Would you maintain contact with family who saw you as nothing more than a resource for your sibling? Or would you focus on building a healthier future with those who truly see your worth? I push the box toward the back of the closet and return to the sunlight of our living room, where Elliot waits with fresh coffee and possibilities that finally belong entirely to us.